Good morning, it is Jane, and I have a couple of finished items, sorta. My sugar blush shawl is finished. It is not very tall, not very long, but it is such that I can wrap it around me in church if I need to, which I really should have had it with me this morning because it was freezing in church. I don't know what was going on, but it was a little on the cold side. I did finish, and this is what we're going to learn tomorrow with Tunisian. Tunisian Tuesday. We are going to learn to do the seed stitch, and then the double crochet stitch, and then the how to bind off. Then the following week we will start on making our sides a little more on the even side with this. Because it is a sampler, some stitches pull in, some pull out. So there is a way to correct some of this besides blocking, and you could certainly block it out to pull those out, but if you have not used a natural fiber, you will have to continually block that every time you wash it. So I find it easier to just fill in the gaps. And there are ways that we're going to do that. We're not going to do that with Tunisian. We are going to do that with a regular crochet border around the edges. And if you remember when we first started this series, I told you that some of that would help stop the curling down at the bottom, because we didn't use a non-curling stitch, because I want you to understand the nature of how Tunisian normally does. It does normally curl on itself because it is constantly on the bias, being worked on the bias. You don't have a back and forth with it, and that is the normal tendency, is to curl with Tunisian. Although we do have stitches that we don't need to curl. Now this is not a real big baby blanket. This is probably something you could throw over them at church, or you could just toss over them, when they're doing belly time or after belly time, that kind of thing. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Now, I did not finish this one, which is the one that I'm using, that baby bee yarn. And as you'll see, it is a much smaller piece. So I'm going to continue working on this with some different stitches, just because that's the way that I'm going to do. But don't worry, Tunisian Tuesday's not finished. We will do more with Tunisian Tuesday. We'll do more stitches. Those will just be small projects, probably like, I don't know, you could probably do an ear warmer, or you could probably just do a washcloth with them. So, yeah, that's kind of what we'll work on next couple of weeks for now. I do have a project that I thought about doing in Tunisian, but I'm going to have to see if it'll work out the way that my mind is thinking it should work out. I do have a Tunisian shawl that I created probably about 7 years ago, which I'd nicknamed Frilly Fusion. And the reason I nicknamed it that is because around the base I put a crocheted lace pattern for the bottom of it. So that's why I just nicknamed it Frilly Fusion. But I never did anything with that. I never proofed it, never did anything. So I'm looking to do that over the next couple of weeks so that I can bring that to you as a tutorial. It's one of those that you can add. You can make it as tall as you want, whatever it is. It's more of a triangular type shawl. So I am trying very hard to work on that to proof it over the next couple of weeks. that is it. Basically, I've continued working on the other projects as well. That painted honeycomb afghan. I do plan on continuing to work on that mostly so that I can get it finished within probably this next month. That is my goal for that project. I don't know if I will start too many other projects other than the next month when I go to prayer shawl meeting, I'll be picking some more hats to make for the children. So that will be the only other added projects in that. Now, if you saw my Watt Whip, then this is going to be a repeat. We're also going to take, normally when we do crochet shawls, they're in a triangular fashion, but we are going to learn how to do a 3-sided wedge. And there are 2 types of 3-sided wedges that you can do. This is a double crochet. You could do it in single. You're doing almost any stitch that you want to, but it's got a wedge there, a wedge here, and a wedge there. So we're going to practice on one of those. And then I'm also going to show you, this is a different type of wedge. It is still the same thing as this, although it is more of a square and not more of that kind of rounded or semi-hexagon, I guess you would call it, half of the hexagon, which this is what this would be, is that half of the hexagon. This is more of a rectangle with wings, so that by the time you're finished with it, you would wrap that over yourself and you would have a nice little shawl that you could wear. So we're going to learn 2 when we do this wedge, but we're going to start out with this wedge before I ever get to this wedge. And there's a reason. I am working on this to try to get it finished so that you can see it finished beforehand. Probably won't happen, but I'm going to try. That's all I can do, right? Is try. So that's where I'm at so far as the crochet, that kind of thing. I've not picked up any more knitting. I do have some projects in the back that are knitting that I'm just holding off on because I would like to try to get some other things done first. And I found that I have quite a bit, to do right now, and I'm just having trouble getting to all of it that I want to get to. Does anybody else do that? I know a lot of you are monogamous when it comes to your projects. I am not. I truly have craft ADD. I bounce from one craft to another, and I think that's why it takes me so long to get things done. Although in the past I was able to get things done a lot faster, but then again, I was doing a lot of that when Thomas and I were on the road traveling. He was driving, and I could do it. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a difference there in doing that. I think that is it for right now. As far as the shop goes, I had an issue with my sewing machine, had to be worked out. It's worked out now, so I'm back to sewing again this week, hopefully. You never know how that's going to go, right? Because things get a little crazy as life passes by, doesn't it? And the kitties are doing fine. They've been running around and pouncing. They have discovered that they can go underneath Thomas's power chair, and then they play on the inside. One's on the outside, one's on the inside, and play. So that has been rather interesting, but it totally freaks them out when I reach over and press the buttons so that it brings the recliner up. They get totally freaked out and fly out of there, so that's kind of funny to watch. And yes, I do it to them. Sorry, it's funny. They have gotten to the point where they've settled in pretty well in the house. They kind of let me know when it's bedtime. Ronan especially, he'll go back to the back bedroom and come out. He'll go back to the bedroom and then he'll sit there and he'll do this little like meow, meow. You're like, where are you? Then he comes back out. He sits right there at the edge of the hallway, stares at me like, it's bedtime. What are you doing? It's time to go to bed. So we get in bed. That's the time Ronan really loves to do a lot of getting petted and cuddle, a lot of purring. The only thing he does that drives me nuts, he likes to sleep between my legs. And then he doesn't want to get up when I have to get up in the middle of the night. You know, he's like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm like, no, you're going to get up. He's like, no, I'm going to stay here. So it's rather funny trying to get him off my legs. And he is dead weight when he's asleep. He's getting to be a pretty chunky boy. He's very filled out, muscular, tomcatish. Izzy is still very tiny, but man, does she get a wild hair sometimes. She'll fly through this house and she gets running so fast she starts sliding on the floor. The other day she was doing that and she slid into the sign back there and the little table stand. It's a plant stand is what it is. She slid into that thing, knocked them all over, and then it scared her and she slid off into the other part of the house. So, yeah, it was funny to watch. I'm like, well, if you'd slow down a little bit, you wouldn't get so freaked. I will tell you, they are fascinated with the humidifier. I have a humidifier that every once in a while, when I notice I have too much static in my ear, that I will turn the humidifier on, and they are fascinated with the steam that rises, and they try to catch it. They haven't got up onto the counter. Haven't ever seen them on the counter yet. But they will get up as high as they can. There's a chair across from where it sits, and they'll get on the chair, and you'll see them, trying to reach across, which is a good 3 or 4 feet, where the humidifier is, but it's funny to watch them. Ronan also likes to sleep in boxes. He enjoys the box, so I let him sleep in the box. And so that's how the kitty cats are doing. Healed up very well and just rambunctious as all get out. I think that is it as far as I'm going to ramble on and going to finish rambling. And now we're going to get into some what in Tarnation. You ready? Let me get a drink. My throat's a little dry today. Apple warns customers not to put wet iPhones in rice. Apple is warning customers to stop putting their iPhones in bags of rice when the devices get wet. Putting wet electronics in bags of rice to absorb the moisture has long been a common DIY practice, but the iPhone manufacturer updated the guidance on its support page to specifically warn customers against it. Don't put your iPhone in a bag of rice. Doing so could allow small particles of rice to damage your phone. Apple also warns against using cans of compressed air or external heat sources to dry out devices. The company said wet iPhones should instead be wiped dry and allowed to air dry naturally until all of the moisture has evaporated. Phones should not be plugged into chargers until they are completely dry, but wireless charging remains safe. So I'm going to assume that if you've got one of those small pads where you place your phone on to charge, it's probably perfectly fine. Nathan Rigger, a spokesman for Samsung Australia, offered similar advice for owners of Samsung phones. I wouldn't recommend putting a wet phone in dry rice, Rigger told Yahoo Finance. And there you have it. So if you want any information about your phones when they get wet, go to your phone manufacturer's support page to find out what to do. Police surprised to encounter a kangaroo at a Texas park. Police in Texas were called to a public park on a report of a loose kangaroo, but arrived to find the marsupial was merely a pet enjoying the park with his family. The Texarkana Police Department said in a Facebook post that officers received a call about a kangaroo sighting at Spring Lake Park. The department said officers admittedly thought, yeah, right, that's crazy. The officers were surprised to arrive at the park and find there was indeed a kangaroo taking advantage of the nice weather. The marsupial was not an escapee, however. They found he was a pet named Rocky and was there enjoying the park with his family. Officers posed for a photo with Rocky before allowing the friendly marsupial to go about his business. I wonder how you raise a kangaroo. Thought males, their instinct was to fight. That should be interesting to find out. Ram on the lam captured in New Jersey. New Jersey police captured a ram Friday morning after the animal was spotted several times over the course of multiple days. The Mount Laurel Police Department said in a Facebook post Thursday that officers were trying to locate the ram and identify its owner. The department posted an update Friday saying the ram had been captured with help from the Division of Public Works. He was jumping bushes and running all over the place. We were able to, with a handful of officers in Division of Public Works, to kind of chase him down, tire him out, and grab him by the horns, literally. And there are pictures. Do you remember, I think it was about sometime last year? Maybe it was the year before. I talked about the British Zoo and their parrots were potty-mouthed. Zoos potty-mouthed parrots showing signs of cleaning up their act. Officials at a British zoo said a plan to curb the rude habits of their famously potty-mouthed parrots is showing some promising early results. The Lincolnshire Wildlife Park said in January that its 8 profane parrots would be moved in with a flock of 92 more polite birds in the hopes that the badly behaved birds would pick up some more family-friendly words and sounds. We could end up with 100 swearing parrots on our hands. Only time will tell, Steve Nichols, chief executive of the park, said. At the time, Nichols said the parrots seemed to be doing well after a few weeks with the rest of the flock. It's early days still, but it's been a good start. We haven't heard any of the really crude language, he told BBC. Of course, people are still walking up to the enclosure, swearing in front of the parrots, hoping they'll copy the words. People, don't do that. Come on. And I know that last year I talked about the Japanese naked men. Forgot to turn my phone off. I told you about the Naked Men Festival that they have in Japan. Guess what? It's come to an end. Japan's Naked Man Festival ends after more than 1,000 years. An annual event commonly known as the Naked Man Festival came to an end after nearly 1,000 years due to the declining population in the area, organizers said. The Somansai Festival, commonly known as the Naked Man Festival, involves hundreds of loincloth-clad men gathering at the Koyushikiji temple in Osu to wrestle for ownership to wrestle for ownership of a bag of talismans blessed by the temple's chief priest. The festival, which dates back to more than 1,000 years, is held annually on the seventh day of the Lunar New Year. Diego Fujinami, chief priest of the Kokusakiji Temple, I'm sure I'm butchering that, announced that this year's festival, which was held Saturday, was the facility's last. The decision is due to the aging of individuals involved in the festival and a shortage of successors. He wrote on the temple's website, while efforts were made to continue the festival to the best of our abilities, in order to provide last-minute cancellations or disruptions in the future, the decision to cancel the festival itself has been made. This year's winner was local resident Kikuchi Toshiaki, 49, who is a member of the festival's Preservation Association. It is sad that the festival is ending. I participate in hopes that it will be a memorable festival, he told outlet NHK, and I'm sure it was. You know, we talked about that bathroom that had the disco in it. Well, now you get to see a wedding in the disco bathroom. Couple hold wedding in Kentucky gas station's disco bathroom. An Ohio couple held their wedding in an unusual venue, a Kentucky gas station's viral disco bathroom. Logan Abney and Tiana Ailstock, who live in the Cincinnati area, exchanged vows in the bathroom at the Hop Shop's location in Verona. The store's bathroom went viral online for a big red button that causes a disco ball to switch on and dance music to play. Tiana, from the first dance in this disco bathroom to this moment, I vow to hop through life with you, through the funk beats and mellow melodies, every rhythm in life, Abney said in his vows. The couple pressed the red button at the end of the ceremony to share their first dance. Aww. Woman returns home to find house ransacked by badger. Now, I didn't know badgers did that when they got into a house, although I don't understand why they wouldn't. A badger broke into a home on England's Isle of Wight, caused thousands of dollars worth of damage before being rescued. Charlotte Glazier said she arrived home from work and found her kitchen had been ransacked, and a hole had been burrowed into her pantry door. She followed the trail of destruction up the stairs where furniture had been bitten and plug sockets had been torn out of the walls. Glazier discovered the offending badger hiding in a wastebasket that had been tipped on its side. Police told Glazier they couldn't do anything about the wild animal, and the RSPCA didn't have any personnel available, so she called pet vets and was referred to the Badger Trust, Isle of Wight. Trust personnel responded to the home and captured the badger in a cage for transport back to the wild. I'm sure by now all of you have heard about Charlotte the stingray. If not, where have you been? She's all over TikTok and Facebook. Last update on the pregnant North Carolina stingray who shared an aquarium tank with sharks. Charlotte's pregnancy could be the first known case of parthenogenesis in her species. A pregnant stingray at a North Carolina aquarium has become an overnight celebrity. And many are wondering who the father is. Charlotte, a round stingray at aquarium and shark lab by Team Echo in Hendersonville, is pregnant with as many as 4 pups. But she has not shared her tank with any males stingrays in over 8 years. CBS News reported she could deliver soon, but as of Wednesday, she still hadn't had her pups. But she did have a nice meal of shrimp. Silver sides and scallops, according to the updates on the aquarium's Instagram page. Over the past week, Charlotte did get some much-needed rest alongside a horseshoe crab in her tank after meeting a lot of her fans. On Sunday, February the 18th, aquarium workers documented her having a shrimp breakfast. But how did she get pregnant? Some are saying Charlotte could have been impregnated by one of the 5 male sharks in her tank. Charlotte was found engulfed with shark bites, which could signal that she mated with a shark. CBS News reported there might be like a shark stingray baby coming up soon. And there's a TikTok user named Cedar who also suggested that Charlotte could have fertilized her own eggs. Either way, you get stingray Jesus or you get shark ray. Would this kind of interspecies pregnancy be possible? Here's what the experts say. Fact check. Can a shark impregnate a stingray? If you're hoping for a shark-stingray hybrid in the near future, you are out of luck, since it's impossible for a shark to impregnate a stingray due to their different sizes and DNA. We should set this record straight that there aren't some shark ray shenanigans happening here. So how did Charlotte get pregnant? Charlotte's pregnancy is likely the result of parthenogenesis, a rare method of asexual reproduction where a female can produce an embryo without fertilizing an egg with sperm. Cases of parthenogenesis have been recorded in more than 80 other species, including a zebra shark and a python. For millions of years, animals have reproduced via parthenogenesis, which first emerged in some of the smallest, simplest organisms. Most animals that procreate through parthenogenesis are small invertebrates such as bees, wasps, ants, and aphids, which can alternate between sexual and asexual reproduction. But this could be the first documented case of it happening with a round stingray. I'm glad the round stingray is getting the media attention that it deserves. It's not necessarily as sexy as a white shark, but they do a lot of really neat stuff. And that is it for today's What in Tarnation. So hopefully Charlotte will have those babies soon and we'll all be in the know. Now, as many of you know, Connie of Just Another Stitch is coming up on her birthday, and she has a birthday bash where she is going to be, her and some other people are going to be giving some prizes away. Yeah, I'm putting my glasses on. So be sure to stop over at her birthday bash and see what she has going on. Maybe you'll win some prizes. All right. You ready for the devotion? This devotion comes from Promises from God's Heart, comforting truth for your every need. Promises from God's heart for His favor. For you, Lord, bless the righteous one. You surround him with favor like a shield. Psalm 5:12. How blessed is God, and what a blessing He is. He's the Father of our Master, Jesus Christ, and takes us to the high places of blessing in Him. Long before He laid down earth's foundations, He had us in mind, had settled on us as the focus of His love, to be made whole and holy by His love. Ephesians 1:5-6. For what credit is it if you sin and are mistreated and endure it? But if you do good and suffer and so endure, this finds favor with God. 1 Peter 2:20. Sing the praises of the Lord, you his faithful people. Praise his holy name, for his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Psalm 30, 4-5. My hand made all these things, and so they all came into being. This is the Lord's declaration. I will look favorably on this kind of person, one who is humble, submissive in spirit, and trembles at my word. Isaiah 66:2. Suddenly a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests. Luke 2:13-14. Blessings on all who reverence and trust the Lord, on all who obey him. Their reward shall be prosperity and happiness. That is God's reward to those who reverence and trust him. Psalm 128, 1-2 and 4. And that is it for today's devotional. I am going to tell you, I go to a prayer group meeting once a week. And in this prayer group meeting, they were talking about something that their church did quite a few years ago. Now it's the church I go to now. And they've surmised it's probably too big now for it to happen. But in this, when people walked into the church, there were people at the doors that confiscated their Bibles. And as they got into the service, when they started the service, it was interrupted by two people who were dressed as policemen. And they came in and they took all the elders out of the church, took away all the young women. But as one of the last elders was leaving the church, he yelled out, remember the word, remember the word. And what it was to symbolize is the freedom that we have here in America to worship as we choose, to come together to worship, because there are a lot of countries where that's not something that you're allowed to do. And it's made me really think about those kind of things this week. How well do you practice your faith? And do you really trust in your Creator, if you believe in a Creator? So just a few thoughts to put out there and stick in your mind. But as always, that is it for today. Be kind to one another. Be kinder to yourself. Love one another. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.